And welcome to another EMS Underground. I am Charles McFall.
And I'm Tom.
Tom, where's your Jerry, Tom? I bet you never heard that joke, Tom. Have you, Tom?
No.
I gotta ask you. So before we get started, this is the show done by Georgia Institute of EMS. You can see it right here at the bottom. It's EMS Underground. There's our information there. I'm the communications specialist. Tom is the head Tom in charge.
Yeah.
You run the school. So we've done a lot of work together, and we've been having some great discussions here in the past couple of weeks with everybody on Facebook. So keep those likes, those hearts, those questions coming. And, of course, if you see us looking at laptops or phones, it is to get that interaction. But a quick question to get us kicked off, Tom. You've recently lost a ton of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find you sweat a whole lot less easy now?
Yeah.
Because I walk into this room, I started sweating. Not because the room's hot, but it's like walking. And like, man, I sweat a lot. And you don't seem to sweat too much anymore. Is that
not anymore?
That good?
Man, I used to kick it, but now that you say that, I'm going to turn some air on because I'm a little warm.
See, the beauty of God, you're one of the few people who love tech like I do, but you've been able to implement it unlike I have been able to, because I wouldn't like to do a nest, but we were in a home, and it's a home that was built in the 70s. I'm not going to put a nest in a 70s home, but he's just flipping on the air conditioner from his phone right now, and that is a beautiful thing. I'm making sure I'm publishing this. Watch me make a fool of myself. I don't know.
Well, it's 74 degrees right now. The air just kicked on.
It's nice. I love that kind of technology. So, there have been some interesting things in the news here recently.
Yeah, like what?
And before I get on that, I know I keep starting and stopping, but I want to make sure that everybody who is watching live, I turn this, every time I turn the volume down, it doesn't stay down. But you can ask us anything, EMS related, public safety related. We'll help you out with whatever information that we can do. And but there's been some public relations disasters, and I know EMS is no stranger, especially the police department's no stranger to public relations disasters. But the first one was Pepsi, right? In this really highly charged time of I understand what they were doing, but it's this charged time of separation. It really is. The more people talk, the more separate we become as a people. And there are issues to be dealt with. And I think Pepsi was trying to reach out with a throwback to the Vietnam era where the soldiers were at the university and the person put the flower in the gun. Much different scenario then than now. I would say much less racially charged than now. And so Pepsi put out a commercial that was somebody giving a police officer a Pepsi, and therefore the tensions were somehow released. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
What was your take on all that?
Well, I don't like Pepsi. And I can't. And since I've had the gastric sleeve surgery, I cannot have carbonated beverages anymore. So, maybe she should have gave him a Dasani. I don't know. I don't see the big deal. She gave the guy a soda.
Right.
At the end of the day, he's a guy there doing his job.
I think what they're trying to do is something what you're saying. It's something what you're saying. However, you can't control that conversation when you do just an ad. Now here, we could talk about all day long what our intentions are, what we want to achieve. And we can do that in class all day long because I have a little bit of a point with this. When you go into any medical situation, non-threatening to you, you're there to do your job, save lives, fix the problem, whatever. Sometimes you don't get to explain your intentions. Right? You don't get to say, I had one guy was apparently going to the bank, had hundreds of dollars or thousands, whatever, he had a bunch of money on him, died in the front seat of his van. And the firefighters had gotten there just as we did. So he was laid out on the floor. It's a big conversion van, so not the minivan kind. So we could get in. We were doing CPR. We got the backboard set up, heavier guy. It was the big one. I mean, he was DRT is dead right there, is what I was taught in school. He was DRT, man. And the whole time we did our job up front, center, talked to the family, did everything we could to communicate, did everything we could to save his life. A few hours later, I get a phone call from Rockdale County Sheriff's Department asking me to come in. I was like, okay, I get along with police officers, but whatever happened to me in life, I honestly don't have a pinpoint on it. I know that I know my rights, and I don't. There's a balance of power. So when I get a call like, we need to see you, like, you need a reason. I'm sorry, you need a reason. And basically the family had accused us of stealing the money because it wasn't in his pocket anymore. Don't know what the deal was, don't know how it happened. But that's that situation. I think Pepsi was trying to do a good thing. They were trying to bring people together. But in this loudmouth society, and that's exactly what we are. Everybody has an opinion on everything, on Facebook, on social media, on the news. They just yell about everything. Mm-hmm. Oh, we got something to relate to that too. You can't, I believe, as a company, and going back to the medical situation, as a paramedic, as a representative, as a representative of this school, wearing this. If I don't have my uniform on, if I'm out and about, I do other shows, and I'll say clearly what I think in my mind. But if I put this shirt on, it's a higher level of professionalism. I'm representing something other than myself. Mm-hmm. I take that into account. I think the easy slam is, and that's what a lot of people went for, is the easy one, is you can't solve the world's problems with a Pepsi. Right. Well, they weren't really saying that.
No, they
but that's how people react.
But you know what? It worked.
Everybody's talking about it, right?
Everybody's talking about it, so it worked.
Now, the other thing is, where do you draw the line? So, of course, we know about United Airlines. And I did some research on that today. There definitely were major issues with how they handled it, and that's a side note. Okay, we're not going to talk about that because they've actually come out and owned it and said, holy crap, that was wrong, we're so sorry, we're going to fix it. They may not recover from that. Mm-hmm. But reading about it, it wasn't just United Airlines. It was United Airlines bumping paying customers off to put their employees on, which is a bad deal.
Right.
But then Chicago PD was actually called in. And Chicago PD, just from the article, service article, they're the ones who drug him off the plane. I don't know where the law was broken. I don't know how they convinced the law enforcement to get involved in that. But that's something else you have to realize is every time you put on... Now, luckily, and I say luckily because there's been just so much negative press about law enforcement. And some of it rightfully earned, but it's all one-sided. I mean, there's almost never an ability to share the other side on any situation. But as law enforcement, all the heat landed on the airline. Only in reading a couple articles today did I find out it wasn't. I assumed it was air marshals or other employees, and it wasn't. But there was a mess there, and that's the other thing that I want people to learn from is do the right thing in the moment, whether it goes against your policies or not. Because honestly, as an airline employee, I would have said, there's just something wrong about bumping paying customers off for employees. Well, these pilots have to get there. They have to find another pilot because these people are who make our money. If we don't have these people, the customers, we have nothing. Mm-hmm. So you can do the right thing whether it goes against what everybody else wants in EMS and medicine. I'm not drug related, not treatment, but this is showing up more and more in tests. I'm doing a lot of test prep right now. Patient is mostly aware of their situation. Not 100% like me and you, but enough to where it's a gray area.
Right.
And they were complaining or they had a syncopal episode. They have a history of heart problems. And the family just knows it's a heart attack they want to go. And the patient's like, I don't care. I'm not going to do it. What do? My personal situation has always been you figure out if you can... It's hard to think this way, but you figure out if you can legally justify leaving that patient behind or legally justify kidnapping them. Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of the area you're in. What do you do, Tom?
I call medical control.
Just put it on. I mean, not in a bad way. Just put it on somebody else so you don't have the responsibility.
Well, it's another opinion. Another, set of ears. And something happens. Unfortunately, it's about that. It's not going to all fall back on me.
Yeah. that is a good one to do. That's kind of, it seems like it's kind of what those employees did. Mm-hmm. But where does that line draw? Not the patient care line, but being tied to your employer. Where does that line draw? Because there was actually a situation where somebody posted something on Facebook about a student that either had been here or was here currently, and we had to look at it and address it. And I'm just saying in generalities, obviously, for reasons. But it's like, okay, well, you could say the ad company was responsible for the Pepsi ad, even though Pepsi will take the heat. If the heat was on Chicago, Chicago PD, I guarantee you they'd be like, no, mm-hmm. It's United Airlines. This is exactly why we did what we did, because they triggered these legal points for us. Where does that line draw? Is it, if I take off this uniform and never would ever do this, if I go spouting racist stuff from a soapbox in the corner, where does that line draw to you?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look after the company and the customers.
Mm-hmm.
Both, I don't think what they did was, I wouldn't have handled it that way, because sometimes you got to pay the piper.
Mm-hmm.
I always say people love playing the odds in Vegas until they lose.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. United or whatever airlines, they overbook all the time because they know that for the most part,
yeah,
people aren't going to show up, and they want that seat filled. Well, on this case, everybody showed up.
Mm-hmm. And they needed to fill other people. And three people got off.
And remember that saying, poor planning on your part shouldn't constitute an emergency on my part.
Right.
So, that guy paid his ticket. Now, what he should have done is he should have got up and left the plane.
Well,
he shouldn't have fought back. Now, I understand protesting. I wouldn't have fought with the police. When the police showed up, I would have got.
Oh no, I would have sued the airline in a heartbeat. Okay, the police are here. It just got real.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with this somewhere else.
Yeah. I wouldn't have got beat up or hurt over it because it's not worth it, because I still got to go home with my family.
Because honestly, when it comes down into this situation, when it comes down to police officers, for as far as we can tell right now, they were just doing their job. Whatever legal ticks that airline had to tick off, they did. Well, they reported it to the police, and whatever way so that the law clearly said, okay, you got to come with us.
Yeah. And the thing is,
now maybe they lied to the cops. We don't know, but the cops were just doing their job.
But when the cop tells you got to come with us, once you defy that, now you've broken the law.
Right.
So, and now you're going to have to pay. So, to me, it's not worth going to jail.
Right.
Getting bumped from your flight.
Here's the other thing.
But that's me. I don't want to.
No, I agree with you. I mean, there's a line. Scenarios are running through my head. There is a line where I will personally accept the consequences, knowing what they are possibly going to be, and still fight, because there's times to fight. I've never experienced it in my life. Never had to. Usually, I can talk my way through anything. It's only when words fail that you have to do what you have to do. But then there's peaceful protests. I mean, how many stars like George Clooney has been arrested for peaceful protest? He fought the fight, he resisted, but when they came to put the cuffs on him, he cooperated, went to jail for a weekend, whatever, and actually boosted his credibility. Mm-hmm. So there's different means to fight. But I'm with you. On an airplane especially, with people waiting, I mean, I'm going to tell the flight attendant, I'm going to tell everybody, it's like, no, I paid for my ticket. Cops show up. All right, everybody, it's been fun. I'll own this airplane tomorrow. Thanks. Y'all have a good flight. So I don't know what happened with that. But here's the other thing that plays into decision making. And decision making is key in stressful environments. Apparently this person who got pulled off the plane has a felony conviction, which means any brush with the law automatically escalates.
Wasn't he a doctor?
He is technically a doctor. Now, what I heard on the NPR or on the local radio here was he had gotten a felony conviction for handing out drugs for sexual favors and something else that wasn't hardcore breaking the law, but it was breaking the law. Lost his license, got it reinstated, and is actually a doctor again. Mm-hmm. Not an emergency doctor, not a surgeon. I think it's just a general practice. And while people will be inconvenienced, the whole "my patients are waiting on me," you're a little too important on yourself, sir. You know, you're not the top cardiologist surgeon in the world, and there's a patient on the table right now. Which in that case, you could afford to charter a jet, get on.
Right.
But having that felony conviction means any police involvement anywhere almost automatically escalates. And I bring that to a point to say, Tom, you've been a commander, captain, head of whatever. I am a new employee, newish employee. You were getting to know me. My work record was clean. You maybe talked to people in the industry who knew me and they vouched for me, whatever. And I mess up. For you, that's the first mess up. Okay, Here's how we're going to handle it. Nice, gentle gloves. Here, let's do some guidance. And maybe I mess up differently, but I do it again in a short period of time. Okay, a little bit tougher, but not a write-up, not a discipline. We're going to guide you. However, let's say you've been working with me for 2 years, and every 3 months I call out. And I'm just on that edge. You can't get rid of me, but I'm that problem child. Mm-hmm. Now I enter a scenario where it's the patient's family, and I'm doing CPR, and they call and say I stole money. You're going to look at that a whole different way, aren't you?
A whole different way. And that's the same principle, too, that I tell people, because it's real easy for someone to make an accusation of you inappropriately touching them. Or doing something inappropriate in the back of the truck, because a lot of times it's just us and them. And we have trust that we cannot violate at all. However, if you're sitting around the station talking derogatory all the time, looking at images that you shouldn't be looking at, and talking about subjects that is inappropriate,
and then you get accused.
And then when something happens and you're accused of doing something that makes believing that a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it heightens suspicion. You know? So you should be impeccable. You know, you should be professional all the time. And that way people can't call you on that, you know?
Now, everybody's human beings. Don't ever imagine we're saying you have to be perfect or this or that and the other. But we've talked about before, and we got a little dust up about wrestling and stuff. But yeah,
I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I know. I mean, people are graphically sexual a lot. Yeah. Man, they just popped in my head. That was what keeps to myself. Yeah. And your reputation does precede you and follow you.
Yeah.
You know, the first time, some I'll give you the benefit of doubt, but over a career, things start popping up. People just believe what they believe about you. There was I think I told it, now I'll tell it very quickly. There was a time, my first call was a very, very stressful, difficult call, and I ran head first right into the fire department and had a problem. And we fixed it. Well, of course, ripples out to the other services, but the other counties that our service had, as somebody in my own service was trying to badmouth me, talking about the firemen and that, and everybody went, No, we've worked with him long enough. He makes mistakes and he's a goofball. And I was kind of naive and went behind the ears, but they're like, he's not doing what you say he's doing, and that's important. It is important. There's a phrase. I honestly don't remember who said it, but it is a famous quote. How you do anything is how you do everything, and that's why people I trusted and worked with side by side. It bothered me when they would just off the cuff go, after midnight, everybody gets a 10-gauge needle. Everybody gets a 16-gauge needle. And it was a punishment. It was nothing else other than a punishment. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that really, it's a little thing. It's not something I could even get anybody on my side with then. Now I know how to explain it, but it was like, here's what bothers me. How you do anything is how you do everything, because you're punishing somebody for calling 911. Well, typically, of course, it's inferred that it's I'm drunk and need a ride to the hospital, or my foot hurts at 3 a.m. But you know what? That's our job. That's what we signed up to do. That's one of the reasons I got out of the business, is because I agreed to this level of care, this level of conduct. And if I get tired of the 3 o'clock in the morning BS calls, I gotta find something else to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, it is what it is. That's the scenario. And we're still playing inside we're not even taking it to the public yet. Because there are plenty of PR disasters with public safety. I was wondering if you put Facebook up on the TV, you kept looking up at the TV. Okay.
There it is.
Nice. We're monitoring ourselves on the big monitor. It's really cool. But if and now my Facebook is spinning like we're not doing anything. That's what happens. But if I were to come to you, Tom, as an employee and say, it bothers me that these people are openly talking about giving 16 gauge or 10 gauge needles as punishment at night. As a commander, what do you do?
Into it. I mean, that's something that has to be addressed.
All right, my phone is locking up, so I'm going to try to reboot that. It says everything's good on our side, so it might just be my phone. Because it looks like not locked up there, too.
Are you using the MiFi?
No, not on the phone.
No,
so
on the broadcast.
Yeah, on the broadcast. So, yeah, the broadcast is separate. A little behind medicine here. What has been the hardest thing for you to deal with as a company man? Maybe not personally as a medic, but as a company person, a representative of the company, that's been a PR mess that you had to clean up. PR, by the way, is public relations, if we weren't clear on that.
A crew going out on a patient and getting a refusal.
Okay.
And then an hour later, they call back and they're in cardiac arrest.
How'd you handle it? I mean, I know obviously you're not going to do patient names. You probably won't do the medic names, but
yeah.
First, what was your first impression when you get that call? You get a call. Hey, a crew went out, or you hear it? Did you hear the tones, or did somebody phone call you?
I heard the tones, and
it was the same address.
Mm-hmm.
An hour later, and what was your first thought?
Oh crap! That's not good.
Because you realize it's bigger than just a life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it had the potential to ruin a lot of lives.
Yeah.
And what was the outcome? Did the patient survive?
Nope.
Was there an investigation then into the refusal? Outside of just yourself or the company?
Oh, yeah. It was looked into extensively.
And what was the decision?
Well, the decision was it was warranted because the patient was legitimately refusing.
Okay.
So, I mean, even though you have a right to refuse care.
Right, yes.
But, the first assumption was because this crew had gone out and had gotten many refusals and they'd been, instead of going out and getting the patient refusing, the thing was that they actually would provoke the refusal.
Now was that a noticed habit? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. So
that's what we're talking about.
Like
your reputation, what you do matters.
They go out on somebody who's 20-something years old, nausea, vomiting, and says saying, "Okay, hey, do you want to go to the hospital or whatever?" They're telling them, "You really don't need an ambulance. You can go by car. You don't need, or whatever, Yeah. So that lingers in there, and then this happens. And then you are out there getting, looking even deeper. Instead of it being, hey, taking their word for it, you got to go and verify.
Yeah. There was a similar situation where a guy was drunk up on a ladder, trimming trees, something, fell off the ladder. The EMS brought him into the hospital. The doctor did just about everything he could. That was warranted. It's a small country hospital. Insurance being what it is, they fight tests and whatever. He's caught kind of between a rock and a hard place. But he did everything. He did a CAT scan. He did x-rays. He did all kind of stuff. Sent the guy home. 12 hours later, the guy died because there's a medical term for it, but basically had a tiny little nick in his liver that a specialized test would have found. But there was no indication at the time for a specialized test. Of course, the patient's family tried to sue the hospital because he died and the hospital said he was fine. And I don't know legally where it went, but I know that doctor mentally was ruined. Not socially. We all trusted him as medics. The hospital still trusted him. But he was kind of like when you have your first car accident. He was gun shy after that, and he would just order test on test on test. And finally, I don't know if they fired him or if he just moved on himself. But that's especially when you care, that's a hard thing. And I hope, as just general human beings, let's say the scenario played differently. Let's say they were talking everybody into refusals. They taught this person in refusal and this person died. I'd hope as a human being, it would be that brick wall you needed to slam into to say, you're in the wrong profession. And you're doing the wrong thing here. I mean, I'm glad because of knowing people and scenarios. I'm glad that in this case it was justified that the patient was actually refusing, period. But there's a truth. Truth doesn't matter. Truth does not matter. It's what you can prove and what you can make people believe, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And this is a perfect scenario for that. Because they were known for, in a justified sense, I mean, you should never, let me be clear, you should never talk somebody into a refusal. Ever. The closest I've ever gotten was just being blatantly honest. Look, you've got a toenail ripped off of your foot. I can't remember the exact scenario, but you got a toenail ripped off your foot. I will take you to the hospital, but seriously, you don't need to go by an ambulance. It's a toenail. They're going to put some antibiotic ointment on it. They might do a few little things. Mm-hmm. You don't, but I will take you. But that's as close as I've got. And if they say, yes, I want to go, let's go.
The patient needs to make that decision.
Exactly, not me. Yeah. Not me. And there's definitely people who just say, sign here.
And I used to really get on people who, because if it's a kid, to me, if I go out on a child, you're going to the hospital. Because I'm not taking that chance. There's so many things. There's things called autism, acute life-threatening events, that happen to kids in front of the parents. But by the time we get there, it's resolved. You get a refusal, you go back, it happens again. It may not resolve.
Right.
And over and over and over throughout, the country, statistically, you see where children die after that event. So, no, you're going to the hospital. That doesn't mean that they always go by me.
Right.
My word is to mom and dad, you need to get evaluated by a physician. You need to go. Because sometimes we get there, it's mom called, and dad gets there, and dad's like, no, I want to take them, it's fine. That's your right as a parent, yes.
Yeah.
However, this is what I recommend. Because if something happens, and you're going down the road, what are you going to do? Well, if it happens with me there, I can do something. But if it's just you, the only thing you can do is drive faster and hope for the best. Whereas I've got an ambulance.
I can actually medically do something. Yes.
So I don't like taking those chances with people. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, because I have gone out on the ridiculous call. I've gone out on a call once where somebody took a crap in a toilet and it looked weird, and they called 911.
You're still not laughing. It still burns deep.
Still burns, because I'm like, you did what? Well, it looked, and you know what? And the way you're laughing, other people were like, it was a joke.
Right.
And you know what I did? I called the police.
What time of the night was it?
Oh, it was the middle of the day.
What? So, okay, I gotta play the who I am card. I would have sat there going, all right, dude, that's funny, but let me tell you what's going to happen if you keep doing that.
Yeah.
Is you're going to go to jail because you did take these resources away. Your choice is valid. It's not the one I would have made. But, so you called the cops and
told him about it.
Scared him straight, huh?
It wasn't kids.
No, I figured it was college age or older.
No, these were adults.
I don't know. I get the resource. I get where you're coming from. I just would handle it differently because it is funny. It's funny.
I had it with that one. That one was the most ridiculous, and they were pranking. They were playing. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Now I gotta say, I can sit here easily in this nice, comfy office without any of that stress in my life and laugh about it and say I'd handle it. But there are definitely days where it'd have been winter chicken dinner. It's like, no, my life is really built up with stress and I need a release. You just gave it to me, and I might punch the crap out of them and go to jail myself.
I think that day was a very stressful day too. We'd already
and that can be
really
it's not something to play with.
There's one thing that I need to point out here before I forget, and I almost did, and it just hit me, is that today is Shirley's birthday. Happy birthday, Shirley!
She's still alive?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Just messing.
Miss Shirley.
Yeah, Miss Shirley. Yeah, she's good.
It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday. There you go. When's your birthday?
October.
You're just like disappointed. Like, it's not today.
My best thing is we got Father's Day coming up, and so.
Well, that is coming up,
isn't it? For Father's Day. Children, new computer, maybe.
Did you say more children? Is that what you said?
I said all my children. New computer.
I gotta tell you, I got my new computer.
I got
it's nice.
5 of them. You'd think they could all just pitch in a little bit.
Apparently, you have to be over 55 for that to kick in.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a friend of mine. He just turned 59, and for the first time in a long time, his grown kids planned the dinner, got him through the party. It's like, all right, so you have to be almost 60 to have that. That's the thing. Law, not everything we talk about is medicine. I mean, how you do anything is how you do everything. That's really life plays in. It's interesting. Habits and traditions and why we just do things thoughtlessly without knowing why we do it. Well, when my wife and I were first married, Father's Day and Mother's Day would come around, and we had a dog, but I am the opposite of an animal person. I see it as a life to be protected, and that's about it for me. Whereas my wife is like, no, she won't call him her kid or dress him up, but she's definitely the animal person. But my mother-in-law would buy a Mother's Day card for my wife from the dog. I'm like, that's stupid. Maybe not for animal people, but for me, I was like, So when it came to actually having kids, when we had a baby, my wife's like, what do you want for Father's Day? I was like, honestly, nothing. Because to me, it's about the kids and your relationship. So until they're old enough to want to do something, it's still nothing holiday for me. Now, we still haven't actually posted on the wall like decoration. Last year, I think it was, they went to Chick-fil-A and they had these big posters. My father is great because, and there's all these different questions that they would answer, and they drew pictures, and it's really cool to see how they see my son, my oldest at the time, or he's still my oldest, but at the time that he did it, because my dad's on YouTube and he's famous because I had videos on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So I love how they look at me and how they see that. What's some of the best things you've done to see how, or you've had those experiences that you've had to see how your kids or your family see you?
Well, I mean, like graduations, and they've got to see me in action a few times. Like going down the road, come up on car wrecks.
Yeah.
2 of my daughters have taken the EMT class. So we've got that, and so they get to see a little bit of taste of what Dad's been doing and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a good benefit there.
That is. It's always good as people to get that feedback. As creators, for me, it's even more invaluable. That's why I always say, hit those like buttons, hit the share button, hit the heart button. You can do it multiple times during the live broadcast. It can just keep flowing. Because we need to know that we're reaching people, that we're connecting with people. And there's times when I will say things that no matter what, this is how I believe, this is how I stand, this is how I want to say it. And I'm always wary in the back of my mind, this could have backlash. And it's nice to know when people back you up on who you are and understand who you are. And that's what is following in your footsteps, doing the EMT class. Did you encourage that? I mean, not just to say, sure, if you're smart enough, you can do it. Did you go, hey, you should be an EMT when you grow up? Anything like that?
No.
So I told my kids opposite. I was like, never be a paramedic. Ever. If you're going to be a paramedic, go be a doctor.
Yeah. No, I didn't. See, I've had they kind of, did it themselves. I mean, it's a lot different from when we were in it now. You know, we have a guy, one of our employees that works here, her son took the course from EMR all the way through AEMT, and they were in high school when they started. He's just barely 18 years old. And he's now working at 18 for a huge ambulance operation and is making 35 plus thousand a year at 18 years old, dude.
Wow.
At 18.
He still has a whole world ahead of him. He could study something else. He could find a new path. He could create a new path. And this just gets it. Or he could be chief, one of the youngest chiefs ever in whatever service.
This is what he wants to do. You know, it's not a bad profession. It's a job. Every job out there, there's aspects of it that we don't like. And a lot of times when I sit back and think about the things I didn't like when I was in the field, it had nothing to do with the job. It had to do with the management that I was working.
Sure. Yeah.
Or it had to do with the other people that were there in those politics. But it had nothing to do with the profession.
I think, we've talked about this.
And the thing is that we can control some of those things.
Right.
You can go to another place to work. You can keep your mouth shut and be a good employee somewhere. You can show up to work on time. You can follow the rules. And, things will fall out. If you're working for a place where you do those things, you're not being treated properly, go somewhere else.
Always feel valued.
Mm-hmm. If you're not valued.
Absolutely.
I remember being miserable some days, but then I remember a lot of days where I wasn't.
What showed me, because we talked about me taking a different path to get where I am now, this and that, the other, but I can look back and what ultimately showed me I needed to take a different path was I could not achieve the happiness that even you had in the job. There are no moments I can look on and go, this is why I was in the field, to deliver that baby that would have died, or to save that. I don't have that. I mean, I've had many calls. I've delivered a couple of babies. I've saved a few lives that I would define by life-saving techniques. Other people have said I've changed their lives, and that's great. But that's how I knew, that's how I know I needed to do something different. It was a job for me, whereas for you and other people, it's a profession, it's a calling, it's the path. Mm-hmm. Because some of the stuff you're talking about, I used to think negatively about National. I thought they betrayed me. But as I cleared my head, as I got distance from the time that stuff happened, I realized that was one of the few places I actually felt valued and looked at how much they did value me and how they showed it by investing in training me and teaching me. And I screwed this up, and they showed me a different way.
Right.
And the part that I felt like they betrayed me had nothing to do with them, ultimately. It had everything to do with me and what I needed to do in my life and the path I needed to take. Mm-hmm. And that's like you're saying, the stuff that you hated was stuff that had nothing to do with the job. You're right.
The job itself is a good job.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm pretty sure as it being a movie star making good money and stuff, I'm pretty sure there's gigs that are just totally horribly miserable that they won't ever do again.
Dude.
I mean, look at how many movie stars commit suicide.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of... And then the world expects you to be a certain way. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. But just talking about the shooting and the job, I've done extra work because there's a lot of stuff shooting here in Georgia. And have had some semi-difficult... And I'm not the actor. I'm just doing a thing in the background. So I get to sit around a lot in air conditioning or whatever and then go do a scene, whereas the actors always studying, they're working, they're whatever. And I was talking to other people who do the job. And they were talking about, I don't remember what TV show it was, but it's this big thing on a big, supposed to be like an airport tarmac. So it's black top, heat coming down, and they had to put on hazmat suits. And they had to shoot for 12 hours. And people, when they call cut, people would run over with umbrellas, and they'd take the helmet off. And, I mean, pouring sweat. They're supposed to be firefighter, hazmat, whatever. Right. And just shooting that same scene over and over again in the dead heat. And I went... Oh, I'd have quit. I wouldn't have quit that job because I'm that guy I'm here for the job. I would never return to acting again. because of that. Because that's brutal. And then you see, what popped in my mind was Scorpion King, right? You see all those desert scenes. Daddy doesn't like sand at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, you put in if you're making a Pinterest board of the reasons Charles got out of being an active paramedic, one of them is because we had to go out in the rain and the cold. You know how many times you've had a huge bulky jacket and you're freezing and you had to go do CPR and you had to strip in the back of the truck because you're just dying.
And your glasses fog up.
And then you get to the ER, you get blasted by the Arctic because it's 90 degrees by the time you get all the body heat in the back of that truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you open the doors to go into the ER and it's 32 degrees outside and you get sick. I hated that. There's almost not a day that goes by when it's raining and I see neighbors. I'm like, thank Jesus that ain't me, because those were my most miserable days.
Especially on the rain days.
The rain
a lot of
days,
times
man.
Whenever I'm sitting and I hear the sirens going, I'm like, man, sometimes I miss it.
I missed the schedule. I gotta tell you, that is the best schedule in the world. It was great. 1 day working,
2 days off.
2 days off.
Swap a shift with somebody, you get 5 off, and you still get the same paycheck.
Paycheck. Don't tap into if you don't have vacation time or whatever.
Yeah.
If you have a 2-week vacation, I might use 1 day of vacation time.
Yeah. I used to
swapping.
Accumulate. I remember sometimes I'd take almost a month off because I'd have so much vacation time and I have to use it or lose it. But a lot of times what I did is I saved it because some places allow you they do the PTO buyback at Christmas.
Yeah, that's always nice.
Christmas money.
I wonder why people don't do that. That's becoming a less and less thing now. And I had HR try to snowball me one day. This is at a different company. They were talking about there's legal. No, there's not. This is the same company where the HR person came in with a new handbook. And because I just come out of the paramedic field when I joined that company, and words mean things. I mean, that's what's hammered into you in paramedic school, hammered into you in orientation. What you write is the reality for a courtroom. Mm-hmm. What it has to be spot on, and somebody will rip apart what you wrote. So you have to, and you got to write in a way that if you read it, you remember to call, because it can be 7 to 10 years later before that lawyer calls you. So what you write is important. And so I go into a mandatory HR meeting with the company. They were doing different shifts, and my whole department went down. And they're talking about the book, and I'm reading through. And in writing, in the handbook, it contradicts itself on the same page. I'm like, wait a minute. Is it A or is it B? Well, what do you mean? It's like, well, you literally just said C, actually. But in here it says, in writing, A, then B, but they contradict each other. But then you said something totally different. Well, they cut the meeting short. They just stopped because, and I wasn't about to take any grief. I'm like, no, because I'm 100% right. What you put in writing matters, and you can't put. This is not what they did, but it's all I think of. They can't put mandatory drug testing unless we say it's not mandatory. It's either mandatory or it's not. You can't. And so that matters. Have you ever gone to court? Have you ever had to?
Yes.
Tell me about that experience.
It was not good because they tear, just like you said, they tear your
PCR, patient care
apart.
report.
They tear it apart and everything. I mean, they were getting me on things like, because we got to a nursing home and the patient was, they said fail. Okay, maybe they did. I don't know. I just documented what I saw, but they were like hounding me because when I got there, I documented it was a nurse. Well, it was a woman in scrubs who introduced herself to me as a nurse, but because I didn't write her name into my PCR.
Okay. None of us ever do.
They actually sat there and said, well, how do you know she was even an employee of the nursing home? She could have been somebody walking in the street. And I said, oh. And then I was like, oh, so really? 1 o'clock in the morning, somebody walking down the street wearing clean scrubs
in a secure facility,
in a secure nursing facility, is going to be in here and give me report, and that same person happens to be sitting right over there.
Yeah, Yeah, and
how do you know it was
wandering
her?
people off the street isn't my problem. That would be the facility's issue.
Yeah.
I have to have yeah, dude. You know, how long? But my question is, okay, so roughly from the time of the event to the time you're in court, how long?
It was like 2 years, but they kept me on that stand for 2 days. And
Wow.
I had to do depositions before that.
Wow, yeah. What was the generic? I'm assuming somebody died and they were
Yeah.
suing everybody they could get.
And the nursing home won. They won the case. They said that the lady with her broken hip crawled out of the bed and fell. But however, her eye was swollen shut. Her ear was off.
To where she hit her face on the floor is what you're saying.
That's what they were saying.
Okay.
But her ear was gone. Now this is a nursing home bed, you know, and it was
They're
one of
like
the older
4 feet
ones.
off the ground.
You remember, not even that far. You know the old ones that you had to crank.
Oh yeah.
And the
Those
way
are like
that it's
2
locked.
or 2.5 feet off the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and
those
the way
are
you
low.
lock the bed is you put it all the way down on the ground.
Right.
It was that kind. And supposedly with her broken hip, or her hip replacement or whatever, you know, she came out of the...
So you're not to put words in your mouth. You seem to be indicating you don't believe the nursing home story.
I didn't. Not too
But
many
see, you had
injuries.
nothing to do with that. You showed
I just
up.
documented all the
and you
bruises because it was
transported.
more than just the facial bruises. There were bruises on her arms, face, you know, and stuff. And just for the eye to be swollen that big, and for your ear to be gone off,
Right.
laying on, you know, come on.
Yeah, but the nursing home won, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know the truth in that situation, but and you may not know the full truth, but you know what you saw and what you experienced and
That's
what you
all I
believe.
could do
Is tell your experience.
is
The
tell what I
truth,
saw.
ultimately, the truth. I mean, okay, universally, truth matters. If you stay true to who you are, you stay true to what you do. What we've been talking about this whole time. Your reputation precedes you and it follows you. What you do is what you do. If you do it to your best of your ability, because you came out clean out of that courtroom. I mean, they tried to get you, but there was really nothing legitimate to rip you apart on, was there?
Yeah.
Because that was always your thing. You write beyond what
They
needed to
just
be
kept
done.
asking the same questions over and over and over. Like they were trying to trip me up and it'd be the same thing
Right.
over and over and over. But whenever I made my comment, then I turned into a hostile witness.
Oh, I love
Whatever
to
that
be a
means,
hostile witness. I
Whatever
like-
that it means or whatever. And then sometimes they'd clear the jury out and then the judge would be there and they would bicker with me, ask me questions.
Uh-huh.
They pull out the deposition, like, well, this is how you answered it in your deposition. Well, that's what I just said, pretty much. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, but you being true to who you were led into that situation. You documented and probably over documented and did some great stuff there. And then it carried through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. There's no... People always say there's your side, their side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, indications say they dropped the crap out of that lady or abused her. And honestly, it sounds like I don't know why somebody was so ripping on you, because it sounded like you were setting it up for the patient to win because you were documenting the facts, and that's what matters.
It was the
is
nursing
facts.
home ripping on me.
Oh, is their lawyer ripping you apart? I got that. Would make sense because they're trying to make it look whatever. Yeah. And that's the other thing. The courtroom is not about the truth either. It's about the law and what you can prove.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten called once and never had to go because I basically told the lawyer he's not going to get anything out of me. It was a 5 or 6 year old call where a volunteer from another county was driving through our county and was scanning the police radio and heard something about domestic something or other, decided to get involved, somehow went to cut off this van that the police were looking for, head-on collision with it. That's where we get calls for head-on collision. It wasn't quite like that, but he's like, he saw somebody, he was parked on the wrong side of the road, facing the wrong direction. Somebody basically clipped his truck. They were suing him. He had nothing to do with our county, but because I was a medical call, I was like, dude. Then the lawyer called me about all that. And I was like, wait, does this have anything to do? You need to fax me my patient report so I can see it because it's been 5 or 7 years. It's been forever. I haven't been in the field for 2 years at this point. Mm-hmm. I need to read it. And secondly, is it about the patient that I dealt with? Well, no, it's really about then what I wrote is what I wrote. Because about the patient, I can talk with you all day long. Anything that's not directly to do with patient care, I blatantly ignored. This guy told me he's a first responder. I told him, don't need you, thanks. The cops dealt with him after that. People will try to do all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the danger of being a first responder. Is there are protections, right? You cannot be a first responder without being officially associated with a group, typically a county.
All right.
So there's insurance and there's that. Dude, let me ask you what you teach on this. It drives me insane to see first responders respond, even volunteer firefighters, responding to a call with their hazard lights on, like that means you can run a red light.
Yeah,
there's literally no law that protects them from that, right?
Nothing.
And there's no law that says you can haphazardly speed or pass people on a double yellow.
Yep, none.
I'm glad to hear that because for so long, I know that can't be right. But everybody I knew that was first responders, I never was, and that was one of the reasons. I'm not going to drive like that.
And whenever they get in an accident or something, they're going to, I always say you can get away with this stuff. You can get away with doing bad patient care. You can get away with driving too fast or driving recklessly. You can get away with it, but eventually, when your number's up, you're going to get thrown under the bus.
Yeah, it's a big, expensive bus. And it hurts.
Yes.
It hurts a lot. That drove me crazy. You want to hear a stupid story?
Yeah.
Well, I was 16 years old. I had just moved to Athens with my family. And we went out to Athens at the time at least. And they might still, but they did an air show every year in the spring. And it was something cool to go do. So my dad took me there. We noticed these teenagers dressed in BDUs, the military camouflage uniforms. And my dad was Navy, my uncle was Army, my grandfather was Navy, I think my other uncle was Navy. So it's a big military thing. I'd always been considering going into the military. And I saw them at my age going, what's that? So I looked into it. It turned out to be Civil Air Patrol. And they were going to have a meeting to start a chapter there in Athens in the following month. Short version is I ended up joining, ended up becoming a part, learning some interesting things. It's the Civil Air Patrol is a civilian branch of search and rescue underneath the Air Force purview. So it's kind of like ROTC for Air Force, but you don't have to have a school or anything. You can do it as a group as long as you have certified people that you connect with, so on and so forth. Well, me being the guy that I am, I'm always bigger, badder, better, more. Always looking, can I do this? Oh, what does this mean? Oh, can I do that? Where's my limit? I'm that koi pond fish that will grow to the size of my limits. I'm the guy that goes, okay, these limits are not what I want. I'll move into something more free. So at 16 years old, I looked up the regulations and called, I guess, the DMV or somewhere in State Patrol. Called the State Patrol, went, hey, I'm in the Civil Air Patrol. And I'm this and that and the other. Can I get an emergency light? Lo and behold, I can get an emergency light. Now, I didn't know at the time, the state of Georgia says you can't have a light without sirens. That's illegal. But the State Patrol wasn't concerned with that. They were just concerned with, I filed the paperwork, I could get a red light permit, and I bought a red light to put on my dinky-ass 1981 Datsun station wagon with broken radio, broken AC, but that red light works, man. And never had a legitimate opportunity to use it. Played with it some when nobody was around. Because the reality is, planes don't crash that much in Georgia. Well, more now, apparently. I mean, I've heard a lot more plane crash stories in the last couple of years.
They like landing on the interstate, don't they?
Or houses.
Yeah.
I really shouldn't make light of that because most of those are bad situations made worse because it was in an airplane. But, yeah, I mean, so at 16 years old, You knew me when I was, 25, 26?
Yeah.
And I still had gung-ho issues then.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mellowed a lot since then. But at 16 years old, man, I had a teardrop red light that went into the top of my car.
With the magnet?
With the magnet and everything,
put it
man.
on
The
there?
big cord stretched across my lap.
And you plug it in your cigarette
Yeah,
lighter?
plug the cigarette lighter, man. Book a
And,
man.
and you hear it up there going...
I did. I had it. I played with it. And the state said that was okay. And it was not okay for any reason.
And how old were you?
16?
16?
16, maybe
With the red
17.
light?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know. And I didn't lie on any paperwork. I was just as blown away. But the way everything fell between the cracks, I mean, that was the thing. I wasn't trying to be an EMT or first responder because there's regulations.
Just driving fast.
I was just a Civil Air Patrol, and somehow that fell under the purview of
So
this,
you
which was
just did
that.
some
Which was...
I need to get some paperwork. I need to, like on my...
I don't want a red light though. I want a brown light because I need to get my coffee.
Brown light?
So I want the brown light. Get you out of the way so I can get to Starbucks, man.
Yeah, going for the code brown. Don't.
You know, that's a real thing. That is a real
when
thing.
it hits, you gotta
You
go.
go.
You gotta go.
I've had partners to go, dispatch take ground
Yeah.
service for a code, and everybody would giggle,
Okay,
but you know.
I got one for you.
All
Have
right.
you ever responded back to the hospital? Code 3, lights and sirens, because you had
No.
code brown.
No. No,
Yeah,
okay.
admit it. Admit it.
I don't play.
Yeah.
See, I learned my lesson when I was 16. I don't play with license sirens. But I have done
is
this.
that playing?
I've abandoned a patient before. And I've used the patient's bathroom, which for me is like the sacred no-no. I mean, it's the sacred no-no. But I had the... Okay, so the reason you don't go to a patient's bathroom is twofold. One, okay, you drop a deuce, you break that whole professionalism. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Period. Okay? You're no longer the professional here to help me. You're a human being that does the same thing I do. I can't handle that. Secondly, you just don't know how people treat their bathrooms. So you never, ever, ever, ever want to do that. But I had my gallbladder removed. And I had healed where I could do my job. But in the long-term healing process, figuring out what's going to mean for me in my body, how things react, there was a point in my life that if I ate lunch, I needed to be near a restroom. And that doesn't always work out in EMS. It was shortly after I came back to work. I'm at the fire station, and either we had a first responder or a third rider or something, and my partner. And we do the call. And, I mean, as we're loading the patient, I told my partner, it's like, you got to load this basket. He goes, why? I'm like, if I lift, it's going to be bad. And I'm literally in the captain's seat where they can't see me, and I have them sitting up. I'm like, I'm just going to do some paperwork. Dude, I turned white. I'm sweating bullets. And I told my partner, like, there's no need for licensed sirens, but you need to go. And we get to the ER. I'm like, patient yours. Out the door I went. And I didn't make a big deal of it. And my partners they were laughing, and they just made fun of me. Like, you can make fun of me all day long, but if I did not make it to that EMT, we had a special EMT bed. If I didn't make it there, my career was over. It was just going to be over. Yeah. And no, can't do that. So, yeah. What about you? Have you ever done the lights and stuff?
Yes, I have.
No, I've sped, but I just don't do that.
The patient was on. Okay, the patient was like in that gray area where we could go and it would be okay.
Sure.
Or but I'm an experienced medic. I can handle this. And it's good to go, right?
Yeah.
But I had to go.
Yeah, and when there's a medical need along with it, it
just was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Now, if it was like the guy twisted his ankle and whatever, I wouldn't have done it. But
yeah.
I had to go.
Yeah. The patient one, luckily it was a regular patient of ours, and I had built up a rapport with her over the years, and I walked in and been nice to her, and it hit, and I was like, look, and we were going to Athens. I mean, this is going to be a 30, 40 minute funeral. I was like, I never do this. I was embarrassed. I was falling on my sword, but I was like, can I use your restroom? Like, yeah, sure. I'm like, we all step outside.
But I've never used the patient's bathroom.
I did that one, and there was no getting around that. I mean, it's one of those
I have been going down the road and used urinal.
I don't think I've done
that.
that.
No patient around. I mean, I'm
sure.
back by myself.
Here, hold this for me, dude.
But come on, I mean, when you're a kid, or you never gone on a road trip.
Oh yeah, I've peed outside. Peeing outside is its own wonderful thing,
in
man.
your car, you got a urinal in the car. You never did that.
No, I never. I usually
like
pull
on
over.
Dumb and
So I grew
Dumber,
up as a kid finding trees. So
on Dumb and Dumber, remember they used the beer bottles, and the guy pulled him over, and he's like, "Oh, you've been hitting a little daddy's cough syrup there, huh?"
Yeah, that was so gross.
Yeah, no, dude, I can't. Dude, when I see something like that, I want to I cannot stand that. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I always think about the mess it can make if I mess up. But I grew up in Georgia where you just pull over the side of the road and there's a tree line. Go pee on the tree, kid. So as an adult, I was like,
heck, my dad would say, he's like, he had to go here.
Yeah. My wife's grandfather was that way. I don't know the full validity of this story, but the story goes when my mother-in-law was younger, her grandfather was like that. We got to go. We don't stop. We get in the car. And at some point, she had to use the bathroom, and he handed her a coffee can. Well, there you go. I'm like,
I had an uncle that was that way.
Oh, that's messed
up.
I
had an uncle that had he had daughters. He had a bedpan.
But that's just unsanitary. Is the least
now I'm talking
word
about
I could
these
use.
are like 4 and 5-year-old girls.
Still, well, I mean, at one point when my kids were potty training, we had it set up the way the van was set up. We had a floor in the back, and we had a porta potty, one of those little training potties with us. And if an emergency was an emergency, and they were in their underwear, right, so they're learning to hold it and when to go, we find a place to pull over, and they just walk back and be in a little potty there. But for the most part, especially we're talking about teenagers and older.
Mm-hmm. Man, I've heard some stories of people, like I've heard stories of firefighters in a house fire going in the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah.
If I'm fighting a fire, I think I could justify doing whatever I need to do in my pants. It's kind of like an astronaut. You just go where you got to go. I mean, fire's all around me, and you want to talk about the brown streak.
Fire no!
Have you ever worked with anybody who has messed themselves on a call?
No. Have you? Yeah. Oh, gosh.
They thought it was a fart, and it was not. And
now, I will tell you.
We had to decon big time.
Remember, it's now called Ally, the diet drug that's supposed to...
What was it used to be called?
I don't forget.
Fen-Phen?
No, Fen-Phen is not...
Fen-Phen was bad. That was bad stuff.
It's the stuff that separates the fat from your food, doesn't let your body process the fat.
Okay. But that makes you quite messy.
Yeah, it can be. And when it first came out, I took it, and I remember reading the insert says, and pretty much when the doctor gave it to me, it said if you feel like you got a fart,
don't.
And they were right. I mean, I never had an accident, but I'd go to the bathroom and it would. I'm like, wow.
There's once or twice right after my surgery. I mean, literally, my wife we're going by my parents' house. I had surgery in Athens, so we're going by my parents' house for something, and I was like, I need a bag. And I said, I need you to pull over. And I was clear. Now, we're in their neighborhood. It's in maybe another 45 seconds to a minute. I was like, I need you to pull over. And she didn't. Like, I need you to pull over. And she was thinking, well, we're almost here. And I went, boom, just all over the floor of the car. I'm like, I effing told you I need you to pull over. We don't have a bag. Because here's where you got to take care of yourself. And I want to talk about one more thing before we get out of here. Going all the way to the PR, to the PR debacles, all the other stuff we've talked about today. I had surgery for gallbladder removal. I've been on clear liquids. They let me have brown liquids or whatever, and it was fine. But for whatever reason, they didn't read my chart right. And when they brought me my last breakfast before I was being discharged, it had 2 pieces of bacon on there. And I had been bacon free for like 2 weeks leading into that. So I'm like, hey, if they give it to me, it must be fine. And that's what caused the I need you to pull over moment. Because my body went, we can't process this. Get out, Jack. Practical jokes.
No,
everybody knows about the.
We don't do that in the
Everybody knows about the rat trap on the light switch, which is really bad to me. Have you ever allowed or done yourself the nitro paste? Me, I've had people
I've
done it.
been
Like,
too
are you
afraid.
kidding? We ripped them apart for that.
I've been too afraid.
Because it
I've
could
never
kill
done-
you. It
I've
could
never
kill
done
you.
I've heard stories of people putting like LASIK in the tea,
Right.
or nitro paste or whatever. And as a supervisor, I'd
Right.
discipline that. That's not
Because it could kill
kill
you.
somebody. Yeah.
We came up with somebody who did that, and luckily we didn't hit it. We found it first. But like, that's not the same as putting the gel under the handle.
It's one
you
thing
know.
putting like KY
Yeah, the KY jelly is what I'm thinking
or
of.
whatever.
But KY under the handle,
Yeah.
Gabe got me on
Yeah.
that one to get nails. Like, that
Or cellophane the toilet.
was so much fun. We had a bathroom, and the way the garage was built, the bathroom was off the garage of the ambulance, and there's that much space under the door. We just take the water hose, shove it under there. Somebody been there too long, just start flooding the bathroom. I mean, the worst thing is what happened. Their pants were going to get wet.
Yeah.
You know.
Remember how we used to take the box spring and swap it out, put the mattress on the bottom and the box
Yeah.
springs on top, and make the bed?
Yeah, I get that more than once. That was
Yeah.
a pain. What is your favorite practical joke that either was played on you or you played?
Putting somebody's boots in the freezer.
That's just wrong with so many levels. That is just wrong, man.
Well, I mean,
See, mine would never fit in the freezer, so I didn't get that treatment. I had the big honking
yeah,
13s, and you're like, yeah, it's no work.
yeah, that's probably the biggest practical joke.
The best one I could never get mad at was, have you ever met Roy Perry?
Yeah.
So Roy Perry, for those of you who never met him, I am 6'6". At the time, at my heaviest, I was 370 pounds. Roy Perry is easily 6'8", 6'9", 400 something pounds. And so he's one of the few people. He called me Junior all my career because he was bigger than me. Everybody called him my daddy and this and that. Now, there's a good guy. I like him. We're heavy guys, and we were with the other crew. We're all going to go to lunch together, and he and I get in the truck, and the truck sank. I mean, it visibly sank. And the guy in the other truck just got on the PA. Fat guy in a little truck. And I can't be mad at you for that, but like, don't go over speed bumps, man. We would have bottomed out the ambulance. So it's something. Laura DePooter, I swapped someone's coffee mug for a mug of gelatin pudding. He thought he'd left it at my desk for weeks because it didn't move. That's great. Although I highly advise you never mess with a man's coffee. That's bad juju.
Yeah. People love their coffee. I'm scared to mess with people's coffee.
I just get mad. I just yell, and then I go make myself another coffee. I mean, that trick, that would have made me laugh. But I've had people put hot sauce in my coffee, or salt, or pepper. I was like, there's no joke there with me. It's like, thanks, with a few choice words, and then pour it out into the coffee. I mean, there's no, oh man, there's no blow up, there's no payoff for the joke. So don't, messing with my coffee's just like kicking a puppy when they have no legs. It's not cool.
Yeah, I guess I've done that too. Or you take the salt and you just
That I've done. I've been willing to buy them food if I mess up their meal.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've seen somebody do is they take, when somebody goes to the bathroom or something. That's like when I go, I check my straws because I've seen somebody took like hot sauce and sucked it into the straw.
Oh, and then put that in the drink. So it doesn't mess with your drink, but you get, making notes. All right, we're going to get out of here, but that is fun. They swapped the key on my keyboard for revenge. I'm a touch typist. So that's the other thing. Payback will get you. And you know what? That actually wraps up this entire show. We talked about PR, bad PR, and what was put out and how it's being dealt with.
Swapping out somebody's underpants for 2 sizes bigger.
That's great. I missed it. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip you, Darren. I missed that one. But that's the thing. So when you do jokes, you need to expect that jokes are going to come back to you. When you force people or highly suggest people to get refusals, somewhere that's going to bite you in the butt. how you do anything is how you do everything. And there's nothing wrong with practical jokes. But we've all known the person who wants to play the joke, but as soon as they get joked or joked on, it's a really bad day. So I think this has been a great... I didn't know where we were going to go with the show. I just started talking about stuff. That's how we do. But I'd love to leave it with what we've touched on 3 or 4 times. Is that quote of how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you go into EMT school that way, you're going to come out really well. If you go into any job that way, you're going to come out really well. I mean, I don't think many people speak badly of me in the paramedic field. I mean, I think badly of things in the paramedic field, how I was, the dark points in my life, this and that and the other. But I think I did the job the best I could. I think most people remember me that way. Although I did supposedly have a firefighter, they say I didn't have a real job now. I'm doing what I love, man. Yep. That's all there is to it.
You haven't missed many meals, have you?
No.
You're doing fine.
No, do it. Yep. My kids are healthy.
Yeah.
I have a roof over my head and food on the table. So, as you can see in the title here, we've got Georgia Institute of EMS. Website is georgiaemt.com, and the phone number is 678-561-2368. The only thing I should have added the email, which is EMSU, because that shows EMS Underground, EMSU at GAIEMS.com.
Yep.
/tilde/control-delete. No. Tom, what classes we got coming up in April?
5-week EMT class and an 11-12-week EMT class coming up next month.
And CPR, you got a site you're working on.
Right.
But if people need CPR, they can call you and you can set up a class.
CPR, ACLS, PALS, and we got a lot of things coming.
EMR class, because I know Laura was asking about that. I don't know if she called. I know she can call and do that, but just in general, EMR class coming up sometime soon.
We're working on one for the summer.
There you go. All right. Well,
so
tune in.
Next week we'll have more update on that.
Very cool. And see, that's the whole point of it. We're not here to shove the school down your throat. We're here to have the conversations and discuss things with you. And at the end, you can find out more about what we do if you want. So there you go. We do this thank you for the likes and see what's like. Maybe that was Tom, but you know what? He's the example. Hit the like button, hit the happy button, the heart button. That's what Facebook looks at. It helps get the word out. And this is all about the conversation with you, so definitely email us, EMSU at GAIEMS.com. EMSU at GAI. I gotta freaking type this thing out. Email us, but be here on Facebook, make the comments, ask the questions. Medicine's always changing. How we handle it's always changing. Mentalities are changing. And if we don't talk about it, we'll get left behind. So tune in here Thursdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. This can apply. Our conversations hopefully can apply across the United States and even the world, because humans are humans. So I am Charles McFall. You can find more of me at charlesmcfall.com. Tom is the chief officer here at Georgia Institute of EMS. You can go to the website there and find more of his stuff. And definitely come by, have a class. Come by on a Thursday afternoon. Maybe sit in and watch us record this thing. It'll be fun. We'll let you.
Yeah, come on in.
So we'll be back next week.
Yep, we'll see you next week.